The Harrington Gallery glowed with crystalline light, chandeliers casting prisms across marble floors and champagne flutes held by Boston's elite. It was the kind of place Emma Harrison rarely stepped into, a world of designer gowns and seven-figure donations where every conversation felt like a transaction. At 32, Emma was used to community centers with fluorescent lighting and coffee that tasted like cardboard, not this temple of wealth where even the air seemed expensive. Tonight, her twin sister Victoria had insisted she come, had pressed a borrowed midnight blue dress into her hands, and whispered about networking opportunities and finally being seen. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from. And if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow, I've saved something extra special for you. Emma smoothed the silk fabric, feeling both exposed and invisible. Her auburn hair was twisted into a simple knot, her shoes borrowed from a neighbor and slightly too tight. She had debated not coming, but Victoria had promised this was about supporting mental health initiatives, not about judgment. Still, Emma's stomach twisted as she navigated the crowd. Groups of philanthropists clustered near marble sculptures, their voices sharp with the confidence of people accustomed to being heard. At one corner, Victoria held court with her gallery associates, their tailored suits and flawless makeup radiating power. They glanced toward Emma with barely concealed amusement, eyes that measured and dismissed in equal measure. Emma tried to explain her art therapy work to a disinterested hedge fund manager, watching his gaze drift over her shoulder toward more important connections. She was about to escape to the restroom when the room's energy shifted. Victoria took the stage, microphone in hand, her smile dazzling under the spotlight. "Thank you all for coming tonight to support mental health initiatives in our community," she began, her voice smooth as silk over steel. "I want to take a moment to recognize someone special. My twin sister, Emma, everyone." Polite applause rippled through the crowd as Emma's heart began to pound. Victoria gestured for her to come forward, and Emma felt her legs move against her will, climbing the shallow steps to the stage. "Emma works in what she calls art therapy," Victoria continued, her tone shifting subtly. "She spends her days with people who, let's be honest, couldn't make it in the real art world. It's very noble, very charitable. A charity case project for people who couldn't succeed otherwise, including my sister herself." The words landed like stones. Laughter tittered through the audience, polite but cutting. Emma's face drained of color, her breath catching in her throat. She saw phones lift, recording lights blinking red. Victoria's smile was triumphant, vindicated, as though she had finally proven what she'd always believed, that Emma was less than, would always be less than. Emma's hands trembled at her sides. She wanted to flee, to disappear, but her legs refused to move. The room felt like it was collapsing inward, walls pressing close, air too thick to breathe. Then a chair scraped against marble. A man stood, tall and severe in a black suit, his presence commanding immediate silence. Damien Cross. Emma had seen his face in business journals, the reclusive billionaire who rarely attended social events. His gray eyes were intense, focused entirely on Victoria with an expression that could freeze water. "That's enough," he said, his voice quiet, but carrying across the hushed room like a blade. He turned to face the crowd. "I came here tonight reluctantly, forced by well-meaning people who thought I needed to rejoin society." His tone made it clear what he thought of that suggestion. "I've spent 7 years funding mental health programs because my brother Marcus couldn't get adequate treatment for his PTSD after serving 3 tours in Afghanistan. He fell through every bureaucratic crack, dismissed by every traditional system, until he couldn't fight anymore. He took his own life 7 years ago this month." The room was silent now, the laughter extinguished. Damien's jaw tightened, grief and fury warring in his expression. "So when I hear someone dismiss art therapy, dismiss alternative approaches to trauma, dismiss the very work we're supposedly here to support tonight, I have to wonder what kind of hypocrisy we're celebrating." His gaze swept the crowd, landing briefly on Emma. Something passed between them, a recognition of shared pain, shared purpose. The people Ms. Harrison works with aren't charity cases. They're veterans, trauma survivors, children who've witnessed things no one should see. And from what I've read about her program, she's reaching people that traditional therapy failed. Maybe instead of mocking her, we should be asking why our well-funded, credentialed systems are failing so many people that they need alternatives. Victoria's smile had frozen, cracking at the edges. The crowd shifted uncomfortably, phones lowering. Emma felt tears burn behind her eyes. Not from humiliation now, but from the unexpected gift of being seen, truly seen, by someone who understood. Damien didn't wait for response or applause. He simply stepped away from his table and walked toward the exit, his presence leaving a vacuum behind him. As he passed Emma, their eyes met again, and in that brief moment, she saw the haunted exhaustion of someone who knew exactly what it meant to lose someone to a system's failures. The gala continued, but everything had changed. Emma descended from the stage on shaking legs, avoiding Victoria's furious gaze. She had come here expecting humiliation and received it, but she had also received something unexpected, validation from someone who knew the cost of dismissing healing work. As Emma finally reached the exit, she turned back once to see Victoria surrounded by concerned associates. Her plan spectacularly backfired, her cruelty exposed for everyone to see. Morning light filtered through the thin curtains of Emma's modest apartment, falling across furniture that had seen better days and walls decorated with Lily's finger paintings. Emma woke to the buzzing of her phone, dozens of notifications filling the screen. The gala confrontation had gone viral in philanthropic circles, video clips shared with commentary ranging from supportive to skeptical. She scrolled through messages, her chest tightening with each one. Some praised Damien Cross's defense. Others questioned whether Emma's credentials justified his passionate speech, seizing on Victoria's planted doubts like seeds taking root in fertile soil. "Mama." Lily appeared in the doorway, her 7-year-old face creased with sleep, her dark curls wild around her face. She was Emma's anchor, her reason for everything. "You look sad. Did something bad happen?" Emma forced a smile, setting the phone aside. "Nothing we can't handle, sweetheart. Come here." Lily climbed into bed beside her, and Emma wrapped her arms around her daughter, breathing in the scent of children's shampoo and innocence. Later, after breakfast, Lily presented Emma with a finger-painted card, bright yellow and orange swirls surrounding words written in careful 7-year-old handwriting. "You're the best, Mom." Emma's throat tightened, wondering how children always knew when love was needed most. At the Community Art Therapy Center, Emma found solace in routine. The building was old, paint peeling in corners, but the studio space was bright with afternoon light and filled with the comfortable chaos of creation. Mac was already there, arranging clay and canvas for the morning veterans group. Thomas Mac McAllister was 45, built like the Marine he'd been, with hands scarred from combat and eyes that still carried shadows. He had come to Emma's program 3 years ago as a last resort after 3 suicide attempts, and her art therapy had helped him process trauma that traditional talk therapy couldn't reach. Now he volunteered, paying forward what he'd been given. "You okay, Doc?" he asked gruffly, using the nickname despite her protests that she wasn't that kind of doctor. "You've been checking your phone every 5 minutes." Emma deflected, but Max saw through it. He always did. The morning session was good, grounding. Emma worked with a young veteran using clay sculpture to access buried trauma, watching his hands shape formless pain into something he could finally name. This was why she did this work, why she had abandoned a lucrative gallery curation career after her college roommate's suicide showed her that healing mattered more than selling. This work didn't make her wealthy or respected by Victoria's standards, but it made her necessary. It made her real. Meanwhile, across the city in a penthouse that overlooked Boston Harbor, Damien Cross sat in his minimalist office, surrounded by screens displaying stock tickers and security reports, researching Emma Harrison. His assistant had compiled articles about her program's success stories, testimonials from veterans whose lives had been transformed, a brief obituary for her husband, who died in combat before their daughter was born. Damien felt something stir in his chest, recognition of a kindred spirit, someone who understood loss and had chosen to fight against it rather than surrender. Across the room, his daughter Riley sat curled in a chair, staring silently at a tablet. At 15, she was beautiful and broken, her mother's features haunted by trauma. She hadn't spoken in 3 years, not since witnessing Isabel's murder during a home invasion. Damien had tried everything: traditional therapists, medications, alternative approaches, specialists from across the country. Nothing had reached her. But this morning, Riley had found a news article about the gala on his computer. She had stared at Emma's photo for a long moment before returning to her silence. Something had stirred in her expression, a flicker of recognition or curiosity. Damien noticed because he noticed everything about his daughter, cataloging every small change, desperate for hope. In her pristine gallery across town, Victoria Harrison monitored social media responses with growing fury. The narrative was supposed to be simple. Emma humiliated, Victoria vindicated, natural order restored. Instead, people were questioning Victoria's cruelty, praising Damien Cross's passionate defense, even researching Emma's program, and finding success stories Victoria had hoped would stay buried. Her business partner Owen Blake leaned against the gallery desk, his expression calculating. "This isn't playing out how we planned," he said carefully. "Maybe it's time to let it go." But Victoria couldn't let it go. She never could where Emma was concerned. "We adjust," she said coldly. "We make people question her credentials, her methods, whether she's qualified to work with vulnerable people. We make them wonder if Damien Cross's defense was warranted or if he's being manipulated by a desperate single mother." That evening, Victoria's fiancé James Sterling confronted her for the first time. "That was cruel, Victoria. What you did to Emma at the gala." Victoria turned on him, her polished facade cracking. "You don't understand what it's like, always being compared, always being second best despite doing everything right." James looked at his fiancée as though seeing her clearly for the first time, and he didn't particularly like what he saw. He said nothing more, but the silence between them grew heavy with unspoken doubts. Dr. Sarah Mitchell, Riley's former therapist, called Damien that evening. "I saw what happened at the gala," she said. Her voice was professional but warm. "I've been researching Emma Harrison's methods. Damien, I think she might be able to reach Riley where I couldn't. Art therapy, especially trauma-informed approaches, sometimes succeeds where traditional talk therapy fails." Damien stared at his daughter's closed bedroom door. Hope was dangerous. He'd learned that lesson through 3 years of failures. But he was also desperate. "I'll think about it," he said. After hanging up, he made an anonymous donation to Emma's program. $50,000, with no name attached. It was easier than asking for help. It was safer than hope. 2 days after the gala, Damien Cross appeared at Emma's therapy center unannounced. Emma was mid-cleanup, covered in paint and clay, her hair escaping its ponytail, when she heard the door chime. She looked up to find him standing in her modest studio, impossibly out of place in his tailored suit among the chaos of art supplies and half-finished projects. For a moment, they simply stared at each other. Emma's defenses rose immediately. "If you're here because of what happened at the gala, you don't need to check on me. I'm fine." Her voice was sharper than she intended, embarrassment and gratitude tangling into something uncomfortable. Damien's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his gray eyes. "I'm not here about the gala. I'm here about my daughter." The words hung between them. Emma set down her cleaning rag, studying him more carefully now. She saw the exhaustion beneath his controlled exterior, the desperation he was trying to hide. "Riley," she said softly. "I read about her after the gala. Selective mutism following trauma." Damien nodded, his jaw tightening. 3 years of silence. 3 years of specialists, therapists, medications, alternative approaches. Nothing has worked. She's getting worse, not better. She's disappearing into the silence, and I don't know how to reach her. His control cracked slightly on the last words, revealing the terrified father beneath the billionaire CEO. Emma's chest tightened with familiar fear. "Mr. Cross, I'm not qualified to treat selective mutism. I work with adults, veterans mostly, people who choose to engage with therapy. Childhood trauma is different, requires different training and credentials I don't have." Damien took a step closer, his intensity palpable. "Dr. Mitchell told me about your methods. She said you reach people where traditional approaches fail. Riley needs that. She needs someone who won't force her to speak, who'll meet her where she is." Emma shook her head, panic rising. "I can't. What if I make things worse? What if my methods don't work for her and she regresses further? I'm not willing to take that responsibility." "Why not?" Damien asked, his voice quieter now, more dangerous. "Why are you so afraid of your own abilities?" Emma felt something crack inside her. "Because I've failed before." The words burst out, raw and unfiltered. "Years ago, during my early training, I worked with a veteran, someone my husband knew before he died. He was struggling, and I thought I could help him. I tried everything I knew, but it wasn't enough. He died by suicide 3 months after I started working with him. I told myself it wasn't my fault, that mental illness is complex, that I'd done what I could. But the truth is, I've never forgiven myself for not being enough, for not saving him. Tears burned in her eyes, and she turned away, ashamed of the emotion. I work with adults now because they choose to be there, because the responsibility is shared. But a child? A child who can't consent, can't tell me if I'm helping or hurting. I can't do that. I won't. The studio door opened, and Mac walked in, stopping short when he saw Damien. Recognition dawned in the veteran's eyes. He looked between Emma and Damien, reading the tension immediately. "Everything okay here, Doc?" Emma nodded, but Mac didn't leave. Instead, he turned to Damien. "I know who you are. I know about your brother Marcus." Damien's expression hardened, walls slamming back into place. Mac continued, his voice rough with emotion. "I was like your brother once. 3 tours, came back broken, fell through every crack in the system. 3 suicide attempts before I found this place, found Emma. She saved my life. Not because she's got fancy credentials or uses textbook methods, but because she saw me, really saw me. She gave me ways to process things I couldn't talk about, couldn't even think about without breaking apart." Mac looked at Emma, his loyalty fierce and unwavering. "She's scared because she cares. She's scared because good people who've lost someone always blame themselves. But your daughter needs someone like Emma, someone who won't treat silence like a problem to fix, but like a language to learn." The words settled over the studio like benediction. Damien studied Mac, then Emma, seeing her through different eyes now. He pulled a business card from his pocket, setting it on the nearest table. "Please, just think about it. I'm not asking for miracles. I'm asking for someone to try to reach my daughter before she disappears completely." He left without waiting for a response, his presence lingering like an echo. That night, Emma sat at her laptop long after Lily was asleep, researching selective mutism, trauma-informed approaches for children, Riley Cross's case history from news articles. She told herself she was just being thorough, just understanding the situation so she could refer them to someone qualified. But she couldn't stop seeing Riley's face in the photos she found online, a beautiful girl with haunted eyes, trapped in silence. Emma understood that trap, understood the weight of unexpressed pain. Across the city, Damien watched Riley create a drawing, her hands moving with desperate intensity across the paper. When she finished, she pushed it toward him, a woman's shadow dissolving into darkness, a child reaching toward empty space. His daughter's representation of the night her mother died. Damien's hands shook as he held the drawing. "Riley," he whispered, but she had already turned away, retreating back into silence. The next morning, Lily asked Emma over breakfast, "Mama, will we see the sad man with the sad eyes again?" Emma looked at her daughter, surprised. "What sad man, sweetheart?" Lily stirred her cereal thoughtfully. "The one from yesterday. He looked like he lost something and can't remember where he put it. Like when I lost my stuffed rabbit, but sadder." Emma's throat tightened. Children saw truth adults try to hide. "I don't know, Lily. Maybe." But even as she said it, Emma knew it was a lie. She knew she would see Damien cross again. She knew she was already trying to figure out how to help his daughter, despite her fear, despite her doubts, despite everything. Because Mac was right. She cared. And caring meant trying, even when failure felt inevitable. Emma agreed to meet Riley once, just once, at Boston's Museum of Fine Arts where art could speak louder than clinical offices. She brought Lily, hoping a child's presence would ease the pressure. When they arrived at the sculpture garden, Damien stood with Riley, both frozen in awkward anticipation. Riley was beautiful and broken, clutching a sketchbook against her chest like armor, her eyes cast downward. Emma's heart contracted at the sight. "Hi, Riley," she said softly. "This is my daughter, Lily." Riley didn't respond, didn't even acknowledge the words. Lily, unburdened by adult anxiety, simply plopped onto a nearby bench and pulled out crayons and museum postcards. "I'm going to draw that statue," she announced to no one in particular, "because it looks like it's dancing even though it's stone." Damien tried to encourage Riley to show her sketchbook, hovering with desperate hope, but Emma gently suggested he give them space. She sat between the girls, pulled out travel watercolors, and began painting without explanation. Abstract swirls of color emerged, blue bleeding into gray, red sharp against white. Lily watched, fascinated. What are the colors, Mama? Emma's voice was quiet, measured. Blue for loneliness. Red for anger that has nowhere to go. Gray for the heavy days. Riley's fingers twitched. Her eyes tracked the paintbrush's movement, something flickering behind her silence. Emma slid the paper closer to Riley, not forcing, just offering. Minutes passed. Damien watched from a distance, barely breathing. Then Riley's hand moved, trembling, and added a single blue stroke to the painting. The mark was tentative but deliberate, a voice without words. Emma felt tears threaten but kept her expression neutral. "That's beautiful," she whispered. For 90 minutes, the girls painted together, Riley gradually relaxing into the creative space Emma created, into the permission to communicate without speech. As they prepared to leave, Riley placed a drawing on the bench, a girl standing in darkness holding a tiny light. Emma picked it up, understanding the message, the plea, the trust. She looked at Damien, saw the desperate hope in his eyes, and made her decision. "Once a week to start," she said. "We'll see how it goes." Damien's relief was palpable, gratitude and fear mixed. In equal measure. Walking home, Lily said, "I like her, Mama. She's quiet like the ocean before waves." Emma squeezed her daughter's hand, hoping she wasn't making a terrible mistake. 6 weeks transformed into a rhythm of healing. Emma conducted sessions at the museum, her studio, and eventually Damien's penthouse, a space that felt more mausoleum than home with Isabel's photographs everywhere. Nothing changed since her death. Riley made incremental progress, creating a safe space box filled with textures, painting a visual feelings journal, responding to questions through drawings. Each session revealed more of the intelligent, artistic girl trapped behind silence. Lily attended sometimes, teaching Riley hand-clapping games, drawing alongside her, building a bridge only children could construct. After sessions, Emma and Damien began sharing coffee, conversations shifting from clinical updates to personal revelations. Damien spoke about Marcus's death, the guilt of not recognizing his brother's deterioration, the helplessness of watching someone disappear. Emma shared about her husband dying before Lily was born, raising a daughter who would never know her father, the loneliness of single parenthood. Their walls cracked slowly, carefully, both terrified of vulnerability after loss. Helena Cross visited unexpectedly during a session, observing Emma's gentle approach with Riley. Afterward, she pulled Damien aside. "Don't let guilt keep you from living again," she said firmly. "Isabel wouldn't want this shrine you've built. She'd want you to be happy." Dr. Sarah Mitchell observed a session at Damien's request and was stunned by Riley's engagement. "In 20 years, I've never seen this kind of breakthrough with selective mutism," she told Emma afterward. "Your methods work." The validation should have felt triumphant, but Emma only felt the weight of responsibility growing heavier. The turning point came when Riley created a self-portrait, her mouth drawn closed, sealed, but her hands releasing streams of colorful paint. Emma explained to Damien, "She knows she has a voice. It's just in a different form right now." As Emma spoke, Damien's hand brushed hers in thanks, and neither pulled away immediately. The contact was electric, terrifying, full of possibility. Across town, Victoria watched through a cafe window as Emma and Damien sat with their heads close in conversation. Her rage crystallized into action. She had tried public humiliation and failed. Now she would destroy Emma's credibility entirely, systematically, until no one would trust her with vulnerable clients. She met with Owen Blake, her business partner, and began planning Emma's professional destruction. The letter arrived on a Tuesday morning, official and damning. The Massachusetts Board of Allied Mental Health and Human Services Professionals was investigating complaints that Emma Harrison was practicing without proper credentials for childhood trauma therapy, potentially harming vulnerable clients. Emma's hands shook as she read, her deepest fears manifesting into bureaucratic language. Anonymous reports alleged she was misrepresenting her qualifications, using experimental methods without oversight, exploiting wealthy families for financial gain. Every word felt designed to destroy her. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. Victoria's poison spread quickly. A blog article appeared, "When Art Therapy Becomes Dangerous," unregulated practitioners, and vulnerable children. James hosted a charity dinner at Victoria's insistence, and Emma attended unaware of the trap. Victoria publicly questioned Emma's certifications, framing concern as due diligence, asking pointed questions about training and licensing. Emma handled it with dignity, but inside she was crumbling. Damien noticed immediately, his expression darkening. After the dinner, he confronted her. "Why didn't you tell me about the investigation?" His voice was sharp with betrayal. Emma's defenses rose. "Because this is my problem, not yours. You can afford lawyers and PR teams. One accusation could destroy everything I've built." Damien stepped closer, intensity radiating. "I trusted you with my daughter. Did you think I wouldn't stand by you?" Emma's voice broke. "I thought you'd realize I'm not qualified, that Victoria was right, that I'm just a charity case pretending to be legitimate." The argument left them both raw. Emma nearly terminated Riley's therapy to protect everyone involved. During their next session, Riley sensed the tension and shut down completely, turning her back, refusing to engage. Emma left devastated, convinced she had caused more harm. Mac rallied the veterans, organizing testimonials and statements. Dr. Sarah Mitchell began gathering professional evidence supporting Emma's methods. Helena visited Emma privately, sharing how Marcus had fallen through conventional systems. "Rigid approaches failed my son," she said. "Riley needs what you offer, not what everyone else already tried." Victoria celebrated with Owen, believing victory was inevitable. But James, witnessing Emma's pain at the dinner, began researching Victoria's gallery practices, sensing corruption beneath the polished surface. He had ignored his conscience too long. That night, Emma sat in her darkened studio surrounded by Riley's artwork, questioning everything she had built, everything she believed about herself. The licensing investigation loomed like a storm cloud, and she had no idea how to fight back against forces that had always dismissed her as not enough. Emma withdrew completely, convinced ending Riley's therapy was protecting everyone. Days passed without contact. Riley stopped eating, clutching Emma's paintings, her regression alarming Damien and Helena. Dr. Sarah Mitchell warned that Riley's state was critical. Desperate, Damien brought Riley to Emma's studio unannounced. Through the locked door, Emma said, "I can't hurt her more than I already have." Riley pressed her hand against the glass, and Emma's resolve crumbled. Inside, Riley went immediately to the art supplies, painting frantically. She created an image of a closed mouth wrapped in chains, then viciously painted over it with red. Emma knelt beside her. "Riley, you don't have to." Riley turned, tears streaming, and whispered, "Stay." The single word landed like thunder. Damien gasped. Emma froze. Riley's voice was rough from disuse, halting, broken. "Don't go. Please." Emma pulled her close as words tumbled out between sobs. "I made noise, he heard me. Mommy told me hide, but I cried. My fault." Riley's guilt spilled out in fragmented sentences. Emma held her firmly. "Nothing was your fault. Your mother loved your voice. She wouldn't want you to lose it." Riley spoke about missing her mother, about fear, about believing silence was punishment. Damien joined them, tears falling as he heard his daughter's voice for the first time in 3 years. "I miss Mommy," Riley said finally. "But I want to be here, with you both." Helena arrived with Lily, who Riley greeted with a tentative, "Hi, Lily." The breakthrough was profound, cathartic. That night, Emma and Damien talked honestly. "I was falling for you before this," he admitted. "But I was too afraid." Emma whispered, "I thought I didn't deserve someone like you." They agreed to face the investigation together. Riley recorded a video message for the licensing board, her voice quiet but certain, defending Emma's methods. Emma's hearing brought allies forward. Dr. Sarah Mitchell testified, "In 2 decades, I've never seen this kind of breakthrough. Ms. Harrison's methods are rooted in sound principles and genuine care." Mac represented 20 veterans with written statements. Riley appeared via video call, telling the board, "Emma gave me other ways to speak until I was ready. She made me feel safe." The board members were visibly moved. Then Victoria's leaked story broke online. Unlicensed therapist uses billionaire's daughter for experimental treatment. Emma faced reporters outside her studio, Lily frightened by the aggression. Damien released a public statement defending Emma, but Victoria's narrative had spread. Meanwhile, James met privately with an assistant attorney general, providing evidence of Victoria's art fraud. forged authentications, inflated valuations, money laundering. I won't be complicit anymore, he said. Owen Blake, contacted by investigators, immediately betrayed Victoria to secure immunity. Victoria received notice of her gallery investigation and called James frantically, but he didn't answer. The licensing board cleared Emma of all charges, commending her innovative approach. Within hours, the Attorney General's office served Victoria with a search warrant. Victoria realized James's betrayal when she saw him listed as a witness. Public opinion shifted dramatically, celebrating Emma's miracle therapy. Helena hosted a quiet family dinner celebrating Riley's voice and Emma's vindication. Riley told Emma, "You taught me it's okay to be scared and brave at the same time." Emma felt vindicated but exhausted, finally allowing herself to cry in Damien's arms as the weight of the battle settled. Victoria appeared at Emma's studio, disheveled and furious. "You took everything from me," she screamed. Emma remained calm. "I didn't take anything. You tried to destroy me and destroyed yourself." Victoria revealed her core wound. "Mom's last words were about you. Emma has such a generous heart." "What about me?" Emma was stunned. "You've hated me for 20 years because of that." Victoria's pain spilled out about being the decorative twin, valued for appearance while Emma was valued for substance. Emma found her strength. "So you made me feel worthless my whole life? You could have talked to me, loved me. Instead, you chose cruelty." Victoria tried justifying her actions, but Emma refused the excuses. Helena arrived and witnessed the confrontation, sharing how Marcus struggled with feeling lesser than Damien. "Those comparisons became part of his darkness," she said. "You're still alive. You can still choose differently." Victoria, crying, asked how to come back from her actions. Emma, exhausted but clear, said, "You get real help. You face what you did. Stop measuring your worth against mine." Victoria rejected the suggestion, leaving bitter but shaken. Emma collapsed after her exit. Damien arrived and held her. "I finally stood up to her. Why do I feel so sad?" Damien whispered. "Because you grieved the sister you never had." Later, Riley asked, "If I can find my voice after being quiet so long, do you think my aunt could find her heart?" Emma admitted she didn't know, explaining some people aren't ready to heal. Riley asked, "Were you always ready?" Emma realized, no. Not until you and your dad showed me I deserved better. She wrote Victoria a letter, never sent, forgiving her for her own peace, refusing to carry the burden anymore. 6 months transformed everything. Victoria was serving a suspended sentence with probation, ordered to complete therapy and community service, her gallery closed and reputation destroyed. She maintained minimal contact with Emma, not reconciliation but no longer open warfare. Emma had expanded her practice, now supervising other art therapists and speaking at conferences about trauma-informed creative approaches. Riley was thriving, speaking regularly though still using art as her primary expression, her voice gaining strength with each passing day. She and Lily had become true sisters in spirit, Riley protective and gentle toward the younger girl, Lily bringing joy and lightness to Riley's healing journey. The Marcus Cross Memorial Art Therapy Center stood in downtown Boston, a converted warehouse with high ceilings and walls of windows that flooded the space with light. Opening day arrived with crowds gathering, press mingling with veterans, community members, and Boston's philanthropic elite who had witnessed Emma's vindication. The center's walls displayed artwork from clients, including Riley's powerful Finding Voice series, paintings that showed her journey from silence to speech in blues and grays gradually brightening into vivid colors. Max stood beside Emma at the entrance, both nervous and proud. "You did this, Doc," he said gruffly. Emma shook her head. "We did this. All of us." The ribbon-cutting ceremony began with Mac representing the veteran community, his hands steady now as he spoke about second chances and the power of being seen. Helena Cross took the stage next, elegant in grief and grace, her voice breaking as she spoke about Marcus. "My son served his country and came home broken. The systems meant to help him failed. He fell through cracks that should never have existed. This center is what Marcus needed but never received. It's my hope that no family will lose someone the way we lost him, that healing will be accessible to everyone who needs it, regardless of credentials or convention." The audience was silent, reverent, as she stepped down. Dr. Sarah Mitchell announced a research partnership to study Emma's methods, legitimizing what had once been dismissed as alternative. James Sterling arrived unexpectedly, having left his family's real estate empire to fund nonprofits, presenting the center with an endowment fund. He approached Emma afterward. "I should have stood up sooner," he said quietly. "I'm trying to do better now." Emma accepted his apology with grace, recognizing that redemption was a journey, not a destination. Victoria was notably absent, but a card arrived for Emma with just 2 words in familiar handwriting. "It's beautiful." Emma tucked it away, a small acknowledgement that perhaps her sister was beginning the long road toward healing. Riley gave her first public speech, standing at the microphone with Lily beside her for support. Her voice was soft but clear. "Art gave me a voice when I couldn't find words. Everyone deserves that chance. Everyone deserves to be heard, even if they speak differently." The audience erupted in a standing ovation. Damien stood in the crowd, tears streaming openly down his face, watching his daughter's courage, her strength, her voice reclaimed. Lily presented Emma with a painting she had made secretly, showing their blended family with the caption, "We found each other," in bright, joyful colors. After the public events wound down, Damien asked Emma, Riley, and Lily to come to the center's art studio. In the empty space filled with afternoon light, he knelt, holding a simple ring. "I'm not asking you to forget your past or replace anyone," he said, his voice steady with certainty. "I'm asking you to build a future with me." Riley stepped forward, adding, "We want you both. As family. Real family." Lily bounced on her toes. "Say yes, Mama. Say yes." Emma looked at the 3 people who had changed everything, tears and laughter mixing. Yes, absolutely yes. They sealed it not with a kiss alone, but with all 4 of them creating a painting together. Riley's dark blues met Lily's bright yellows, Emma's gentle greens intertwining with Damien's strong reds. As they painted, they laughed, talked about their future, made plans. The painting was abstract, chaotic, beautiful in its imperfection. Emma stepped back to look at their collective artwork and felt something settle deep in her chest, a truth she had fought for years to believe. She had spent so long thinking she wasn't enough, not successful enough, not credentialed enough, not worthy enough. Victoria's cruelty had confirmed what she already feared about herself. But healing wasn't about being perfect. It was about showing up, trying, being brave enough to let others see you. Riley had found her voice through art. Emma had found hers through loving these people and letting them love her back. Sometimes the greatest therapy wasn't technique, but truth. And the truth was simple, profound, liberating. She was exactly enough. They all were. The 4 of them stood together, paint splattered and happy, a real family built not from perfection, but from choosing each other through healing. Outside the studio windows, Boston glowed in the evening light, and inside, a new foundation had been laid, strong enough to hold whatever came next. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.